guys, it's Cory here again to talk to you about movies and stuff. This is the show where I review movies from my DVD collection because why not? I'm not saying this is the kind of collection that you could teach a college course from. I have movies of all kinds of caliber, from Stanley Kubrick to Adam Sandler, and more than my share of cheap action movies from the $5 bin. I'm not curating some kind of master class of movies that you need to see before you die. I'm just sharing some thoughts on some of the movies that I own. Today's film is a broad family comedy with a lot of feel-good moments and a fist-pumping rock and roll ending. It's sentimental at times and sickeningly sweet, but it's also filled with plenty of laughs and memorable moments. As a musician, I connect well to the subject matter of this movie, and the pivotal moment that drives the plot of this movie is based on a viral web video which felt appropriate. The movie that I'm going to talk about today is called The Rocker. The movie follows 40-something-year-old loser named Fish, played by Rainn Wilson. He played the founding drummer for a Guns N' Roses type band named Vesuvius, but he was kicked out before the band ever got famous. He spent the next 20 years working a dead-end job and resenting the band for their success. He loses his job and has to move in with his sister's family. When his nephew's band, ADD, needs a new drummer to play a gig at the senior prom, they invite him. He sits in. The gig goes poorly, but after some band discussions, they decide to give Fish another try if he can get the band a gig. He sneaks the kids out of the house to play a gig in another state, and when his sister finds out that he stole her minivan, he kicks him out of the house. So with nowhere else to go, he moves into the back room of a Chinese restaurant. The restaurant, of course, is hot and smelly, and the band, with nowhere else to practice, decides to do a web practice conference. So the four of them get together. Fish, who is too hot to play in clothes apparently, ends up playing the rehearsal naked. So while the band is practicing, Josh Gad's little sister notices that Fish is naked, and she puts it on the internet. The video goes viral, and the band actually becomes an overnight success. Before long, a label representative played by Jason Sudeikis knocks on the door, offers them a record contract, and they go on the road. This is the first time Fish actually gets to experience life as a rock star, and he takes advantage of it to its fullest, partying hard, wearing himself out on a daily basis. He gets the band into some trouble trashing the hotel room, and the lead singer's mom, Christina Applegate, actually ends up joining them as some kind of like a chaperone. The manager manipulates the band into kicking Fish out because he's square and old, and they replace him with an Abercrombie and Fitch type drummer. But after the emotional down point of the movie, the band decides they need Fish back to play one final gig. The catch is that final gig is opening for Fish's rival band, Vesuvius. Eventually, after some coaxing, he ends up joining the band for the concert. So after rejoining the band, they go to the gig, and they meet Vesuvius backstage. Fish has the opportunity to confront them and say exactly what's been on his mind for these last several years, but he actually takes the high road, wishes them a good show, and they proceed to go on and rock the house down. Vesuvius goes on after ADD, and I don't know, something happens, and it turns out that they're actually lip syncing. The crowd kind of boos them off the stage, and ADD gets an encore. Nice happy ending wrapped up with a bow. Very feel good, right? The jokes in this movie are what actually make it worth watching. Formulaic filmmaking aside, the humor is actually quite good. The naked drummer gag is quite memorable. When Vesuvius kicks Fish out of the band, he chases after them like the Terminator and actually stabs holes in the band van with his drumsticks. It's pretty badass and very well done moment. He grosses out an audience member one time by flinging a sweaty t-shirt at her. Vesuvius is actually a Cleveland band, but when they met ADD backstage and they had British accents, that was pretty funny. And those are just a couple of jokes that I can remember. The cast is also top-notch for being a middle-budget comedy with a minor star in the lead. Aziz Ansari has a pretty good cameo as Fish's co-worker that loves Vesuvius. Josh Gad, who I usually find very annoying, actually is kind of funny and amusing in this movie. Jane Lynch, who plays Fish's sister, does an excellent job, and her husband, played by Jeff Garlin, plays the only guy who thinks it's cool that Fish used to be a rock star. Emma Stone plays the bass player. This is actually her second movie, and it's nice to see her in a supporting role before she blew up and became an A-lister. And the kid who plays the lead singer does a great job, probably not because they're an actor, but because they're actually a rock star who has written pop songs for some of the great recording artists of the day. Jason Sudeikis does a great job playing the dick manager. He really chews up that role. Demetri Martin plays a pretentious music video director. And Vesuvius is actually played by Fred Armisen, Bradley Cooper, and Will Arnett. They steal every scene that they're in, and they play the perfect prototypical hair metal rock stars. Part of the reason this movie works so well is that the pop music that was written for the band in the movie is actually pretty good. I do take issue with the fact that the musicians don't always appear to be playing along to the music, but Emma Stone swears she learned to play bass for the role and she still remembers all the bass lines. I'll take her at her word. But the music works very well to punctuate the emotional moments of the film, and it's actually kind of catchy. After the last time I saw this movie, I actually got motivated to record some of my own music, and it ended up being some of the best music that I've ever recorded. So, inspiring movie. Thanks, The Rocker. I think the movie's biggest flaw is actually addressed in the context of the film. The band wanted to retain their indie cred, so to speak, but the label wanted to turn them into manufactured pop stars. This movie had a lot of humor and character, but it was sanitized by the studio machine to make it a little broader and a little more commercial. I think this movie would have done just fine as a quirky little indie film a la Frank, but it's still pretty enjoyable the way it is. In summary, this is a funny movie. It's good for the family, though it does portray some drinking and partying, although always in a condescending tone toward that kind of activity. It's a solid rock and roll movie and definitely worth watching for musicians. Other movies I compare it to, the first one I could think of is Rockstar, starring Marky Mark and Jennifer Aniston. It's definitely similar in terms of tone and, studio production values. Other rock comedies that I compare it to, obviously Spinal Tap, which is one of my favorites, as well as Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. So if you like all this stuff I just said, then check this one out. If you're looking for some real cinema, this one's only meant to be funny. Sorry. That's my 2 cents. Please hit the thumbs up button below. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comments section. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe. If you'd like to support us and see these videos keep coming and getting better, we do have a Cash App at The Grilled Cheese. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.